Hi, I'm Dr. KDEL. I'm the lead coach for KDE Leadership. Welcome to this very brief video on team management and intrinsic motivation. This is going to be just a 10-minute video just to introduce us to uh, the best practices in managing teams and motivating our people intrinsically. So let's just go ahead and begin. First of all, it's important to know that there are a few myths, uh, a few statements that we inadvertently think are correct about teams. But I want to start by saying that relationships between team members actually does enhance high performance in traditional and virtual organizations, whether you're meeting face to face or you're meeting virtually or in a remote fashion. Let's break down some of those facts. I said that you should hire someone smarter than you are. What I mean by that is focus on populating your teams with subject matter experts, okay? You as a leader are not supposed to know everything to the granularity level that your SMEs are supposed to know, okay? You just have to know enough to be able to guide them, support them, provide what they need, and step in if there are any problems, they need a few more bodies in the trenches. Okay, you also need to be confident enough to delegate to your people. And that means that if you do hire people who are smarter than you are, then I really don't see why you shouldn't be confident to delegate to them. Now, I'm going to go to a few team decision-making pitfalls and the solutions. There are about 5 of them here, but I just want to focus on 2. Okay, we have a pitfall, a team pitfall called groupthink. We have one that is called escalation of commitment. We have another one that is called the Abilene paradox, group polarization, and of course, on ethical decision making. I'm going to just work on groupthink and escalation of commitment for this brief video. In groupthink, members actually too quickly adopt preferred solutions that come from maybe an influential member of a team due to maybe the person controls the purse, or the person is actually an expert in the field, so they kind of fear the person or revere the person. And so because of that, team members who would otherwise question the rationale behind a direction will not thoroughly analyze that direction. They don't play devil's advocate. They just kind of accept it because it came from Mr. A, who happens to be our leader, or who happens to be the acknowledged subject matter expert or the most experienced person there. How do you resolve groupthink? Try and make your team sizes smaller, okay? Because when people are smaller in size, teams are smaller in size, they tend to be closer, more cohesive, and they tend to not carry a chip on their shoulders. They tend to accept criticism without getting personal, okay? You want to provide face-saving mechanisms. What do I mean by that? If people understand that when you correct them, there are mechanisms in place to make sure that the correction is not personal. It is delivered in a tactful manner, in a respectful manner. Okay, that can also help. You want to invite different perspectives from people. If you're a team lead, ensure that everybody makes a suggestion. Invite people, coax people to make a suggestion. It doesn't matter whether the suggestion is brilliant or not. Make sure you provide safety for dissenters, people who say, no, I don't agree with that. Make sure you protect them within the team, because a lot of the fear people have about dissenting is that they might be lower level workers and they're afraid of going up against an idea presented by a boss. Okay. And then, of course, you want to establish a second solution technique. Always have a plan B or a plan C. Even if everybody accepts that we're moving with plan A, okay, make sure that your team comes up with a plan B and a plan C. That's it for groupthink. Now, the other pitfall I want to look at before we quickly move on is called escalation of commitment. And that is where you persist with a losing course of action due to ego, embarrassment, or what have you. Okay, when there's escalation of commitment, it often comes from a boss, a team lead, who decides on a course of action. And even though it's not working, the team lead continues to throw resources and money and time and effort into that because it's their baby, so to say. All right. Solution to that, you want to set limits for continued investment in a project. You want to say, you know what, if we spend 3 months in this and it doesn't yield any dividends, we cut our losses and we'll move on. You want to discourage people from tunnel vision, focusing so much on one particular course of action that you blind yourself to other possible solutions that might exist out there. Okay, recognize also there's something called sunk costs. Okay, sunk costs is when you decide to walk away from this direction because it's not working. The amount of money and resources you've thrown in there that you're willing to say, okay, let's cut our losses, is called sunk costs. And then, of course, you want to use external reviewers prior to your final decision making. That helps you with escalation of commitment. That way, you're not persisting on that losing course of action due to ego, embarrassment, resources, time, and what have you that been spent there. All right. Finally, I'm going to share with us something here. Teams need leaders. There's no doubt about it. Okay. But also, the very presence of a leader can threaten the autonomy of a team. So in essence, it's a paradox. It's a leadership paradox. Every team definitely needs a leader, all right? But leaders have to lead in such a way that they do not impede the autonomy of a team. They allow team members to utilize, to embrace their initiative to solve problems. They don't have to step in, because once they step in, there is a tendency for groupthink to occur. So let me say that again. The leadership paradox is that teams need leaders, but the very presence of a leader can threaten the autonomy of a team. Now, I'm going to delve very quickly into conflict and types of conflict, okay? Conflict, we're talking about leveraging differences. And there are 3 different types of conflict within organizations. There's a relationship conflict, which is when a disagreement is based on personal, social, or non-work issues. That's a relationship conflict. Then you have a task conflict, where the disagreement is based on the work being done by the team or the team members. And finally, you have a process conflict, which is where disagreement is based on task strategy and delegation of duties and resources, the way the process has been put together. People might disagree on that, okay? So regardless of what type of conflict you have, the solutions are basically the same. There's a trick. You want to seek to take advantage of conflict. You want to embrace conflict and keep things official, okay? Don't get personal, because once you get personal, the other person feels that they're being attacked personally, and guess what? They come back at you. So that when you focus strictly on the task at hand and the process at hand, people are more likely to have a dialogue with you. And that's why I said earlier that in order to manage conflict, you've got to either compete, you got to either avoid, you got to accommodate, compromise, or collaborate. Whatever the type of conflict resolution method that you select depends on the type of conflict. There are times to avoid a conflict. There are times to compete, to utilize your superior knowledge to get stuff done. There are times to let the other person have their way, to accommodate them, because it's important that you allow everybody to bring something to the table. And then there are times you compromise. Let's meet halfway. You got a good point, I got a good point. Let's see how we can interlock them and come up with something great somewhere in the middle. And then, of course, there's a time to collaborate, where we really work out our differences and ensure that we all win everything that we're looking at. So to leverage conflict, you've got to listen to each other. You've got to learn how to brainstorm. And brainstorming is defined as a process where ideas are just thrown into the table, okay? It's not an idea evaluation process. It's an idea generation process. That's what a brainstorming session is. So you listen, you encourage people to brainstorm, and recent studies have shown that brainstorming happens better when it is anonymous, when people throw in their ideas anonymously. When it is done in an individual fashion, you don't all have to sit in the same room, then brainstorming does work. You got to also learn how to play devil's advocate, what you call the what-if scenario. You come up with scenarios that don't exist, have not existed, but they might in the future. And people come up with ideas on that. You got to learn how to coach people, okay? A coach shows people how to do things, allows them to perform those tasks with them, and then steps back and allows them to, and steps back and then gives them feedback, sorry to say. So that's what coaching is. You got to also learn how to do that as a leader. To leverage conflict, there might be times when you have to reallocate your team resources, redesign the team, okay, in such a way that conflict is removed. The members that bring conflict are moved to other teams where they are more suited, okay, where their special set of skills are more suited. You got to set norms for fairness in decision making, okay, and then most importantly, pay attention to the cultural and educational differences amongst team members. Okay, some people take it personally when you stare at them. Others take it as a point of that you know exactly what you're talking about when you stare at them. So sometimes our culture has something to do with the way we embrace conflict or the way we handle conflict. Okay, so as I said, I'm Dr. KD. I will see you on the next live LinkedIn Live event, which is coming up on Friday, June the 2nd, 2023. As I said, the topic is going to be on change management at its best. Again, do connect with me on LinkedIn. As you can see there, that's my profile address right there on the screen. That is the front cover of the book. I talked about big dreams, making it happen for organizations and teams. I do suggest you just quickly get a copy of that book. It's going to be very helpful, especially if you're planning to be at a conference. You need to go through that. It's just maybe 80, 90, maybe 100 pages. So you should be able to get through that in a couple of weeks, okay? On the screen right there, just before I sign out, that is KDEL's 3-day virtual leadership conference. It's coming up there. That is your description and sign-in link at the bottom of the screen. Well, that's what I have for you folks today. I want to say thank you so much for listening to me today. I'll see you again next week at our change management conference. Until then, thanks a lot for being here with me, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.